What's up and welcome to Derry. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and you'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too. This is it, chapter 1. It's directed by Andy Muschietti. I think I got his name right. And this was a massive hit at the box office, especially considering the fact that it was a horror movie. Like, all things considered, how much money it made opening weekend, how much money it made overall. Just very unexpected. I remember this came out in 2017. I could still see for that was my year of diagnosis. That was my journey year. That was my year of diagnosis. So I remember this came out in September. I was still doing okay when this came out. I was able to see it, and it's really fucked up. But it's got some crazy shit in here. But the book is even weirder, and there's some stuff in here that's always been considered like unfilmable, like the orgy, which they leave out of this also. Not only do they leave it out of the original one with Tim Curry, but they left it out of this one as well. So, but this one has an amazing cast of young people, including people like Finn Wolfherd and Jayden Martell, Sophia Lillis, Chosen Jacobs. We've got Jackson Robert Scott, who did literally, like, on this viewing, I finally put it all together because I lost my vision before I got to see Lock and Key. I was a big fan of Lock and Key, and it wasn't until I went back through and I was like, who? Oh, Georgie was played by Jackson Robert Scott. Why do I know that name? Here's a Lock and Key. Like, so shout out, because I love Lock and Key. I miss it. I don't know, I wasn't crazy about the last season. I felt like they were trying to wrap things up and just to wrap things up. But yeah, it's got some good stuff in there if you haven't seen it and you want to see more of Georgie. So check it out on Netflix. But for the rest of them, they've had, I mean, like, we know we're going to find Finn Wolfhard, oddly enough, still on Netflix. Stranger Things. So I just saw Chosen Jacobs in something too, not that long ago. He was in, and I will think of it. But yeah, he just played somebody in something too. So this is being re-released as part of Regal's 31 Days of Horror, whatever, where they have a new horror movie every day. I love that this is becoming more and more of a thing, especially considering movie theaters are like scraping for attendance and content and everything. They're willing to do things like have these one-off screenings and to bring people in to see a whole bunch of horror classics on the big screen for the first time. And this was always the hope for digital, I think. I mean, I remember when because I'm old school. I worked in movie theaters. I can thread a classic projector with actual film. And when digital started coming out and the possibilities were endless, I remember hooking up Xboxes to those digital projectors and playing like Halo on the big screen. And the hope was always that we would be able to take all of these movies that are starting to be put on digital, like on DVD, Blu-ray, those kind of things, and pop them back up onto the big screen, without having to worry about the quality of a print. Once you've restored it digitally, it keeps it going. Because, preservation of film is challenging, and the restoration process and everything can be sometimes, at least creating a digital, while it's not always the best way to watch a film, it keeps it alive. There's so many films that have been lost to time simply because we don't have physical copies of them anymore because they've degraded so much, and they're always working towards restoring whatever they can. So it's weird to think of entire projects just gone. But yeah, anyway, back to it. This is, I would say, at least my third time seeing this. I know I've seen it twice. And this film slaps. This film is great. This is one of the few like horror movies that I'm not like a massive horror fan, but it still just slaps. Like it's crazy. It's good. And I know someone recently was reviewing something and they were talking about they were watching a movie that was at Fantasia this year, and they were talking about like violence towards kids, and they're like, well, it feels like, Terrifier really changed, what we're willing to see happen to kids. And it's like, did did it or did it did did Terrifier do it or did it do it? Because there's some crazy shit that happens in here to the kids. So I would argue that it might have started it and it may have opened the door for Terrifier. So that's a hot take. I know Terrifier just took it like a step further, but when you're looking at when did we start killing off little kids in film, this uh 2017, I think predates. Anyway, so um it's this had a killer trailer back in the day. This was one of the best trailers I've ever seen. And like every time it played, everybody was just like, "Oh my God, it's the It trailer." And the first time you saw it, you didn't know what you were watching because it was like the little kid and he was in a slicker and he's running down the street. He's got the boat. And it's not until you see Pennywise and you're like, "Oh shit, I know what this is," you know? But it had this kind of melancholy coming of age vibe to it, like a lot of Stephen King works have, like Stand By Me, so it kind of takes you off guard. And that's the first part of the movie too, is it has this vibe, except for at that point, Andy Machete believes, I'm going to stumble with his name all the time, that you know what you're in for, so he can kind of, there's like a little kind of a jump scare moment that he tries for a cheap jump scare before we ever see Pennywise with the walkie-talkie when Georgie's going down to the basement, and then his brother comes on the radio on the walkie-talkie all of a sudden, and it's sort of like a quiet moment in a dark basement. When you're a kid, you're like, "I don't want to be in the basement. It's creepy down here." Nothing has happened yet. So, but eventually we get to the Pennywise scene, and Bill Skarsgard as Pennywise, which is fantastic work. Just, yeah, I mean, I think there was a suggestion that is this, there was definitely like talk of, because of our expanded top 10, could it get in, and could Bill Skarsgård get like a supporting actor? No, I mean, we're watching the film, he just doesn't have enough time. He doesn't have enough scenes where it's dialogue. A lot of it is just like the typical scary monster stuff. It's not enough of him getting to monologue and to be scary that way. He has a couple moments, but I don't think it's enough to necessarily justify and to balance it out. But do I think people voted for it, Chapter 1, that year for Best Picture? I do. I think if we saw the list of what films were like 11 through 15, wouldn't be surprised at all if Chapter 1 was on there. Because it was a big enough movie that I think it registered for people. And there was something that was a little different about it, that was a little elevated about the style of horror that Andy had brought back to this franchise, and really giving us a great Stephen King adaptation, swinging for the fences by doing a Chapter 1 and a Chapter 2, because what if this film bombed? Then you only get the first half of the book, So, but very talented director ended up producing an excellent and frightening and horrifying, but yet also he knew where to draw the line. He knew where some of the things in the book were like, well, I can't bring that onto screen. Sorry, Steve, it's not happening. So he stayed away from a little bit more of the Stephen King, the cocaine years, and didn't put that stuff in the movie. And now we have Welcome to Derry. So yes, that is absolutely why the It films have become part of my spooky season this year, is because Welcome to Derry is dropping in spooky season. So why not? It's perfect time. I don't have reviews of It on my channel, so it is now on my channel there, and it has audio description. It also happens to be on HBO Max. Surprise, surprise, the same place where you're going to find Welcome to Derry. So like everything just lines up perfectly. It just does. The performances from these actors, these child actors, are just fantastic. Like a brilliant little cast of child actors. We have this new casting award this year. I don't know how it's going to go, but this would be something I would say casting, because if you don't cast the right kid actors, it doesn't work. You have to get an adult audience, a largely adult audience, let's be honest, to watch a bunch of kids lead a movie. So the kids have to be well cast. They have to be engaging. They have to be able to act, root for them, not want them to be killed off. All those kind of things that we get from a horror movie that sometimes we don't get out of our child actors. But when we do, it's brilliance in casting. Finding the best child actors is a skill in and of itself. And while I feel like we certainly have more excellent young actors and actresses nowadays, as parents prepare their kids more and more for this type of thing, you still see those ones that get cast and you're like, in this time and age, how are we still finding the ones that should be doing like cereal commercials, like why are they getting film roles with lots of dialogue? So it does happen from every once in a while, and heavy eye rolls toward the casting director on those. But then you get the ones that really affect you, and performances that are absolutely memorable. And there's just great talent here among this cast. So I loved it, and I think this is an excellent movie. It's not my favorite horror movie of all time, but I think that just has to do with runtime and the fact that in order to complete it, I also have to watch a chapter 2. So you have to watch like part 1 and part 2 to get like the full story. I also would have appreciated, like I said, just a little bit more of Bill Skarsgard as Pennywise, not needing to be like a jump scare monster thing, which is what he is a lot of in this. There's a lot of imagery and stuff, and a lot of horrifying things they play with, but would have appreciated just more of him being able to taunt and speak and do that kind of thing. Another thing that I love about this movie that Andy Muschietti does really well is he shows us the horrifying adults. I mean, I think really Bill and George are the only ones that have like seemingly normal parents. I think everybody else in here has like their parents are like a hot mess. I mean, you've got a dad who's very rapey towards his daughter. I mean, that is one creepy fucking dad. That's a dad for you. And then you've got the boy and his Munchausen by proxy mom, who's giving him pills and making him believe that he's sick when he's not. I mean, there's some adults here where you're just like, really? And even Henry's father, right? Henry's father's a dick too. So, of course, Henry is a dick, but this sort of goes to show you, it's supposed to give you, I guess, some sympathy as to, well, bullies are bullies because they're bullied at home. They're bullies begat bullies. and begat bullies. It just keeps happening. So, although at this point, I mean, Henry's a psychopath, especially with added content from the book, he's a psychopath. But, yep, You'll Float. This started the whole trend of kids dressing up for Halloween like they were Georgie from It with the balloon and the yellow raincoat, and standing outside people's homes for Halloween. It's great. It's just like a great gag. And I don't know. I feel like this film has earned its place. It hasn't been, I feel like we need more time for films usually before we say it has stood the test of time. I think this will stand the test of time. I think this is it. Like, I think as great as Tim Curry is, the other version was like made for TV, so it can only be what it is, you know? But Tim Curry's a great casting choice for Pennywise. But this is like the definitive, nobody's going to need to readapt it after this. It's just not going to happen. This is fine. It's sort of like The Shining. The only time they tried to readapt The Shining was they tried to do a more faithful adaptation, but it was like a TV miniseries. So nobody watches that. They watched the Jack Nicholson version. I guess a couple of people watch it with I can't think of his name, but from Wings is in it. So sure. It Chapter 1. Let's go with I like this movie a lot, so I'm gonna give it an 8.6 out of 10. I think this is definitely a film classic, a horror classic, and it's great for your spooky season. So get spooky. You can see this in theaters. And I will see you guys on the other side.